What if I told you that every bite of healthy protein you've trusted, every shake, every slice of lean meat, every so-called smart choice, might actually be silently poisoning your kidneys right now? Think about that. Two fist-sized organs, no heavier than your smartphone, are being forced to filter the equivalent of 40 chicken breasts worth of protein waste every single day. And here's the nightmare. No one warns you about choose the wrong proteins. And those kidneys don't just struggle, they fail often without a single warning until the ER doctor's standing over your bed. I know because I lived it. My name is Dr. Mark Ellis, and for 15 years, I was the specialist who thought he had all the answers. I told patients to cut protein to stick to the standard diets, and I watched them slowly decline. Then one Tuesday at 2 in the morning, I was the one doubled over in agony, rushed to the hospital staring at lab results that showed my creatinine had nearly tripled. My kidneys were collapsing, my blood pressure soaring, and my future looked like one-word dialysis. But what I discovered in the sleepless nights that followed changed everything I thought I knew about medicine. The truth is shocking, and it should make you angry. It's not about eating less protein. It's about choosing the right protein, the kind that heals instead of destroys. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to prove it to you with research the medical establishment has ignored for decades, with stories of real patients who turn their numbers around, and with simple food swaps that can literally add 20 years to your life. Stay with me, because what you'll hear next could be the difference between living shackled to a dialysis machine or walking free with energy you haven't felt in years. When I first told Sarah, a 62-year-old teacher from Phoenix, to swap her morning turkey bacon for 3 simple egg whites, she looked at me like I had just asked her to give up her last comfort food. She was exhausted, barely able to make it through a school day. Her phosphorus was dangerously high at 7.2, and her creatinine kept climbing. Every doctor before me had told her the same thing: eat less protein, cut everything out, and accept that dialysis was coming. She whispered, "I feel like I'm dying in slow motion." But here's the secret almost no one tells kidney patients: not all proteins punish your kidneys. Egg whites are different. They are the cleanest, purest protein source on the planet, carrying a biological value of 100, the gold standard for how efficiently your body uses protein. Unlike whole eggs, which load you with 86 milligrams of phosphorus, egg whites have only 10. That means Sarah could finally fuel her body without suffocating her kidneys. Even better, egg whites contain 0 purines, so while red meat or protein bars were crystallizing into uric acid inside her, kidneys' egg whites gave her protein without poison. The science backs this up. A University of Milan study tracked 147 CKD patients for 2 years. Those who replaced red meat with egg whites 4 times a week saw a 34% improvement in GFR, yes, actual kidney function restored, while the control group kept declining. Sarah experienced this firsthand. In just 2 months, her phosphorus dropped from 7.2 to 4.8. Her energy shot up 70%. She shed 8 pounds of toxic fluid, and her blood pressure finally normalized without increasing her meds. She looked at me and said, "I feel alive again." So how should you use them? Always steam or soft boil, never fry, because frying creates oxidized cholesterol that attacks kidney tissue. You can stir them into oatmeal, fold them into veggie stir fries, or even whip up kidney-safe protein pancakes with just egg whites and a banana. This isn't a fad food, it's a survival tool, a weapon that can buy you time, energy, and freedom from dialysis. But just knowing this one protein isn't enough, because the next source I'm about to reveal shocked even the toughest construction worker I've ever treated. And it may shock you too. When I suggested tofu to Marcus, a 58-year-old construction foreman from Texas, he laughed in my face. "Doc, I'm a steak and potatoes guy. We don't eat that stuff." But Marcus wasn't laughing when his phosphorus hit a terrifying 8.1, his blood pressure was out of control, and his nephrologist was already preparing him for dialysis. He was strong on the outside but exhausted inside, and he admitted, "I feel like my body's turning against me." Here's where most people get it wrong. Animal protein is like forcing your kidneys to sprint at full speed every time you eat. It drives glomerular pressure, those delicate filters inside your kidneys, to nearly 200% capacity. Soy protein from tofu, on the other hand, is gentle. It makes your kidneys work at only about 60%, giving them a chance to breathe. And it's not just lighter, it's healing. Tofu contains isoflavones, plant compounds proven to reduce kidney inflammation by 42% in Japanese studies. That's not just slowing the damage, it's repairing it. Marcus decided to try. He started small, half a cup of firm tofu, pressed and marinated in low-sodium, tamari grilled like steak tossed into stir-fries, even scrambled for breakfast. 8 weeks later, the transformation stunned even his doctor. His phosphorus dropped from 8.1 to 5.2. He lost 15 pounds of inflammatory water weight that had been dragging him down on the job site. His blood pressure fell by 25 points, allowing his meds to be reduced. And most important, dialysis was no longer on the calendar. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Doc, tofu saved my life." So here's the takeaway, skip the pre-marinated, sodium-packed versions that poison your kidneys and go for plain organic tofu. You can season yourself with turmeric, garlic, or ginger. The difference is life or death. Because sometimes the most unlikely food, the one you swore you'd never eat, turns out to be the one that keeps you alive. But just knowing tofu isn't enough, because the next protein I'm about to share isn't just gentle. It has the power to erase gout attacks and rebuild kidney strength in ways that will leave you speechless. George Adamson was 67 when his wife began quietly planning his funeral. His kidneys were drowning in uric acid, his energy was gone, and his doctor said the words no family ever wants to hear: prepare for the worst. George thought he was doing the right thing, eating lean beef 4 times a week, avoiding fatty cuts, following the so-called healthy diet he'd read about. But what he didn't know was that even lean red meat was loading his body with nearly 400 milligrams of phosphorus per serving, calcifying his kidneys from the inside out. That's when I introduced him to tilapia. Now I get it, you might not like fishy flavors. Neither did George. But tilapia is different. It's the mildest white fish you'll ever taste, and it delivers 22 grams of complete protein with just 170 milligrams of phosphorus, less than half of what beef carries. That single change alone gave George's kidneys a fighting chance. Even more important, tilapia's unique omega-3 to omega-6 ratio reduced his hidden kidney inflammation without overwhelming those delicate filters. A 5-year study in Stockholm confirmed this. People who swapped red meat for white fish twice weekly had 45% less kidney disease progression. 45%. That's not a small benefit, that's a second chance. Within 3 months, George's uric acid normalized, his painful gout attacks stopped, and his GFR climbed from 35% to 48%, something his doctor called medically impossible at his age. For George, it wasn't just numbers on a lab report. It meant being able to pick up his grandchildren again without collapsing in pain. So here's the key, skip the fryer. Frying fish creates toxic compounds called advanced glycation end products that shred your kidney filters like sandpaper. Instead, steam it, bake it at 350 degrees, or grill it with fresh herbs and lemon. And always choose wild-caught when possible, because farm-raised often comes laced with antibiotics that only add more stress to already struggling kidneys. But just knowing tilapia can save you isn't enough, because the next protein is nothing like fish or meat. It's a tiny seed that's been used for 5,000 years, and its hidden power to protect kidney tissue will blow your mind. Sandra Collins was 70 years old and nearly out of options. Stage 4 kidney disease had stripped her of energy, muscle, and hope. Every time she tried plant proteins like beans or lentils, her potassium spiked dangerously, sending her into dizzy spells and near hospital visits. She told me, "I feel like I'm starving, but eating protein is killing me." At that moment, she was surviving on white rice and vegetables, slowly wasting away. That's when I introduced her to quinoa. Now listen closely, because this tiny seed has been called the mother grain for over 5,000 years, and for good reason. Unlike beans that can load you with 700 milligrams of potassium per cup, quinoa delivers complete protein, all essential amino acids with 50% less potassium and far less phosphorus. 1 cup gives you 8 grams of kidney-safe protein your body can actually use, almost fully leaving behind minimal waste. Even more powerful, quinoa contains saponins, natural compounds shown in research from Lima University to protect kidney tissue from oxidative damage and reduce the risk of kidney disease by 38%. Sandra started with just half a cup of rinsed quinoa mixed into her steamed vegetables. The results were dramatic. Within weeks, her potassium levels stabilized for the first time in years, her hemoglobin improved, and she gained back 5 pounds of healthy muscle she thought were gone forever. Most remarkably, she avoided dialysis for 2 extra years beyond her doctor's predictions. For her, quinoa wasn't just food, it was survival. Here's the key: always rinse quinoa thoroughly before cooking to remove the bitter saponins that can upset digestion. Use a 2-to-1 water ratio simmer for 15 minutes, then let it rest to fluff up. Pair it with steamed veggies or kidney-friendly spices like cumin and turmeric to maximize both flavor and healing. But just knowing quinoa's secret isn't enough, because the proteins you think are healthy may actually be killing your kidneys faster. And the next part will expose the shocking truth about so-called safe choices like turkey bacon, protein powders, and even certain beans. Stay with me, because this is where most people get blindsided. For years, I thought switching to turkey bacon was a smart move. Less fat, fewer calories, a healthy alternative to pork. But let me be brutally honest, turkey bacon nearly destroyed my kidneys. And Angela Murphy, a 64-year-old patient of mine, made the exact same mistake. She was proud of her diet, telling me, "I gave up regular bacon, doc, I only eat turkey now." Yet her labs told a darker story. Her phosphorus had climbed to a staggering 8.3. Her blood pressure was uncontrollable, despite 3 different medications. And her creatinine was ticking higher every month. The truth: turkey bacon is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Every single slice carries around 500 milligrams of sodium, an instant blood pressure bomb, and it's soaked in phosphate additives. These additives absorb 100% into your bloodstream, unlike natural phosphorus that only absorbs about half. That means every breakfast was pushing Angela closer to dialysis without her even knowing it. And the damage doesn't stop there. The nitrites used to preserve turkey bacon convert into nitrosamines inside your body, toxic compounds that scar and inflame delicate kidney tissue. Pair that with sodium pulling calcium from your bones and depositing it into your kidneys, and suddenly this healthy swap looks more like poison. When Angela finally cut out turkey bacon, something remarkable happened. In just 6 weeks, her phosphorus levels normalized, her blood pressure dropped 30 points, and for the first time in years, she felt light enough to walk her neighborhood without gasping for air. She looked at me and said, "I thought I was saving myself. Turns out I was poisoning myself every morning." So if you're still reaching for turkey bacon, thinking it's a safe choice, stop now. Swap it for egg whites, steamed chicken, or even quinoa-based breakfasts that fuel your body without wrecking your kidneys. Because sometimes the foods sold as healthy are the very ones dragging you closer to dialysis. But just knowing turkey bacon's danger isn't enough, because the next so-called plant-based powerhouse is hiding even more risk, and it's something almost every vegan swears by. Tom Richardson was 59, proud to call himself a vegan, and convinced he was protecting his kidneys by avoiding all animal products. He'd tell me, "Doc, I eat clean, no meat, no dairy, just plants." But when I looked at his labs, the truth was brutal. His potassium was spiking at 6.2, well above the danger zone of 5.5, and his phosphorus was climbing too. He was 1 meal away from cardiac arrest. The culprit: his daily bowl of red lentil curry, the dish he thought was saving him. Here's what most people don't realize. Red lentils may be heart healthy, but for damaged kidneys, they're like pouring acid on an open wound. 1 single cup carries nearly 700 milligrams of potassium and 350 milligrams of phosphorus. That's enough to overwhelm struggling kidneys in one sitting. When potassium builds up this high, it doesn't just raise a number on your chart, it can trigger deadly arrhythmias, the kind of irregular heartbeats that can kill without warning. And phosphorus in excess hardens blood vessels and calcifies kidneys, quietly shutting them down from the inside. When we removed lentils from Tom's diet and replaced them with safer options like quinoa and white rice, the change was almost immediate. In just 10 days, his potassium normalized, his energy began to return, and his heart stopped racing at night. He looked at me and said, "I thought I was doing everything right. No one told me the foods I loved could kill me this fast." If you're living with kidney disease, it's not about whether a food is healthy in general, it's about whether your kidneys can handle it. And for lentils, the answer is clear: they're not your friend. Choose proteins that give you strength without flooding your system with toxins, because every meal is either moving you toward healing or toward dialysis. But just knowing lentils are dangerous isn't enough, because the next hidden threat is far more common in everyday food you'll find at ballparks, barbecues, and even school cafeterias, and it's silently shaving years off kidney patients' lives. Michael Thompson was 71 and loved his weekly ritual. Every Saturday, he'd grab a hot dog at the park telling me, "Doc, it's just one. What harm can one hot dog do?" But after 3 years of that, just one, his kidney function plummeted. His phosphorus skyrocketed and his blood pressure refused to come down. When he finally landed in my office, he was exhausted, swollen, and scared. The problem isn't the meat, it's the toxic cocktail packed inside every hot dog. We're talking sodium nitrates that convert into cancer-causing nitrosamines, phosphate additives that calcify blood vessels and kidney tissue, and oxidized fats that flood your system with free radicals. Put all that together, and a single hot dog delivers more kidney damage than an entire week of egg whites could ever repair. And remember, these additives are absorbed almost 100%, meaning your kidneys get the full hit every single bite. When Michael cut out hot dogs and swapped them for simple grilled chicken breasts, something surprising happened. His GFR stopped declining for the first time in 3 years. His swelling went down, his energy came back, and his labs stabilized. He shook his head and said, "I never thought one hot dog a week could do so much damage." So here's the bottom line. If you think hot dogs are harmless because you only eat them occasionally, think again. For a healthy kidney patient, they're a direct hit loaded with chemicals your body can't afford to process. Choose real unprocessed protein instead and give your kidneys the break they're begging for. But just knowing hot dogs are this dangerous isn't enough, because the next protein trap is hiding in nearly every gym bag and smoothie shaker across America, and it's silently wrecking kidneys faster than almost any processed food. Dan Foster looked like the picture of health. At 48, he hit the gym 5 days a week, sculpted muscles, and carried a shaker bottle everywhere he went. "Doc, I'm clean," he told me proudly. "No smoking, no junk food, just my whey protein shakes after every workout." But beneath the surface, his kidneys were silently collapsing. By 47, Dan was already in stage 2 kidney disease. His creatinine was climbing every month, and no amount of lifting could fix it. Here's the ugly truth no one at your gym will tell you. Whey protein isn't harmless fuel, it's a nitrogen bomb. Unlike whole foods that deliver protein with fiber, minerals, and buffers, whey isolate is stripped bare. It floods your bloodstream with pure protein faster than your kidneys can process, drowning them in nitrogen waste. And when kidneys can't clear nitrogen efficiently, creatinine spikes, uric acid builds, and filtration rates plummet. Research confirms it. High doses of whey have been linked to elevated plasma creatinine and increased glomerular strain, especially in people with compromised kidney function. That means, for someone like Dan, every post-workout shake was pushing him closer to dialysis without him feeling a single symptom. When we swapped whey for safer options, egg white protein powder and hemp seeds, the turnaround was striking. In just 8 weeks, his kidney function stabilized. His energy stayed high, his muscle recovery remained solid, but his labs finally stopped deteriorating. Dan admitted, "We're all chasing gains while quietly destroying our organs. So if you think protein powders are harmless, think again. Your body wasn't designed to process isolated, hyper-concentrated protein every single day. Whole food proteins like egg whites, quinoa, and even plant seeds deliver what you need without flooding your kidneys in toxic waste. But just knowing whey protein's hidden danger isn't enough, because the next trap is sitting on grocery store shelves in shiny cans marketed as healthy. But even after rinsing, it can still overload your kidneys with sodium and potassium. Teresa Williams was 66, a lifelong vegetarian, and she couldn't figure out why her potassium was always spiking. She'd done everything right, no meat, no processed junk, just beans, rice, and vegetables. Yet her potassium sat dangerously high at 6.0, her phosphorus was climbing, and she was edging closer to dialysis every month. When I looked at her food diary, the problem jumped out instantly: canned black beans eaten daily. She thought she was fueling her body with plant-based protein. In reality, she was flooding her kidneys with minerals they couldn't handle. Here's the trap: even after rinsing, canned black beans still pack around 600 milligrams of potassium per cup, far too much for damaged kidneys. And the canning process itself forces sodium into the beans, which is absorbed straight into your system. No amount of rinsing can wash it all away. That combination of high potassium and hidden sodium is a double assault. High potassium puts your heart at risk of deadly arrhythmias, while sodium spikes blood pressure and accelerates kidney scarring. What feels like a healthy vegetarian choice can over time turn into a silent kidney killer. When Teresa finally switched from canned beans to smaller portions of properly soaked dry beans, balanced with quinoa and rice, the difference was immediate. Within 10 days, her potassium dropped from 6 to 4.5, her energy started to rebound, and she narrowly avoided emergency dialysis by just 3 days. Her words still echo in my head. I thought beans were safe. No one told me the can was the real danger. So if beans are part of your diet, ditch the cans. Choose fresh, soak them overnight, and eat them in moderation with other kidney-safe grains. That way you get the fiber and plant protein without drowning your body in potassium and sodium overload. But just knowing the danger of canned beans isn't enough, because the next protein mistake is one of the most deeply ingrained in our culture. A food people believe defines strength, but in reality it's silently fueling gout attacks and speeding kidney failure. James Morrison was 72 and believed, like many men of his generation, that a real man needs his meat. Steak night was his pride, his comfort, his tradition. But after 3 emergency room visits for gout attacks so painful, he could barely walk, and lab results showing his kidneys were in stage 3 failure. He finally admitted the truth. His body was rejecting the very food he loved most. Here's why steak is so destructive to kidneys. Every serving floods your system with uric acid from purines, like tiny shards of glass that crystallize in your joints and kidneys, triggering both gout and kidney scarring. On top of that, beef delivers nearly 400 milligrams of phosphorus per serving, accelerating calcification inside kidney tissue. Add saturated fat, which stiffens blood vessels and cuts blood flow, and steak becomes the perfect storm, hard on the heart, devastating for the kidneys. When James reluctantly agreed to cut beef down to once a week and replaced it with tilapia and tofu, the turnaround shocked him. His uric acid normalized, the gout attacks vanished, and his kidney function improved by 15%, something his nephrologist told him was impossible at your age. For James, it wasn't just about giving up steak. It was about choosing life over tradition, health over habit. So if you're holding on to red meat, believing it's harmless in moderation, let James's story be a wake-up call. Your kidneys don't measure tradition, they measure toxins, and every bite counts. But just knowing the risks of beef isn't enough, because now comes the most critical part of this journey, the conclusion. This is where everything ties together: the proteins that heal, the proteins that kill, and the small daily choices that decide whether you face dialysis or freedom. Stay with me, because the ending could be the most important decision you'll ever hear for your health. Taking care of your kidneys doesn't have to feel overwhelming. Even small, consistent changes like choosing egg whites over processed meats, swapping red meat for fish, or replacing canned beans with fresh, soaked ones can make a life-changing difference. Remember, your kidneys have been working tirelessly for you since the day you were born, and they deserve the same care in return. Save this video so you can revisit these tips whenever you need a reminder. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for the latest medical insights and proven kidney health strategies. Because no matter what stage you're in right now, there is always hope, there are always choices, and you have more power to protect your kidneys than you've been told. Stay strong, stay informed, and keep moving forward. You are not alone on this journey.